Hi everyone, and welcome to English for You. I'm Pat.
And I'm Mike.
And Mike, are you ready for the metaverse?
No, I'm 100% sure I am not ready for the metaverse, partly because I don't know what it is.
Me neither. I think it's got something to do with virtual reality, VR, and augmented reality, AR. Have you got any experience with those?
I do not have much experience. I don't VR game. I don't have the virtual reality goggles so I can, fight in 3D. I mean, I do like computer games and I like those open world games where you're kind of in a cool, realistic environment. But, I'm not watching anything with my virtual reality goggles. I'm just using it as a computer game, but it's kind of cool. So the way I understand it, it's sort of like you can have a chat room with your friends, but in the metaverse, you'll actually have a room that you'll be able to go to and see your friends and walk around them and do things with them.
If only there were rooms like that in the real world.
It's true. There are.
They're called houses. Okay, well, anyway, let's try and find out what this whole metaverse is and what it could mean for the future. Let's check out our article.
Reading.
Facebook changes name to prepare for the metaverse. Facebook has now changed its company name to Meta. This change was announced by Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg. He revealed the new name last October at Facebook Connect 2021, the company's AR/VR, or augmented reality and virtual reality, event. This is where he explained the company's VR vision for the future. The new company Meta will include Facebook, as well as apps such as Instagram, WhatsApp, and the VR brand Oculus. The CEO described his plans to build the metaverse. He described it as an embodied internet, where instead of just viewing content, you're in it. He believes the metaverse will be the next big thing after the mobile internet. Zuckerberg said that in spite of how far apart people are, they'll be able to feel like they're together. He mentioned that the company's VR division has grown significantly in recent years. He expects the metaverse to reach 1 billion people within the next decade. Experiences in the metaverse could include social connections, games, fitness, work, education, and shopping.
All right, so our article begins by telling us a little bit about the metaverse and also about why it's been in the news so much recently. There's actually a very good reason for that. And we find that out at the beginning of the article where it says Facebook has now changed its company name to Meta. Yeah, this was a big news story, partly because it's about Meta, which is short for the metaverse, and people had a lot of questions about that like we do, but also because Facebook is just one of those really big companies in the world, and when they do something like change their name, it's definitely news.
Right, I mean, they own like WhatsApp and Instagram and other stuff, so Facebook is still Facebook, but its company owning name, that's what's changed. And we see this change was announced by Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg. CEO is Chief Executive Officer, basically the man in charge. And he announced this change. To announce something is to declare it publicly. He doesn't just say it to himself, his family, a few key employees. No, he's going out there and saying it either on a big public video, a media conference, something like that. He's putting this message out to the world, and it's kind of making it official. We could also say something like, my father just announced that we will be moving to Australia next year. He's told the whole family. He said, this is going to happen. I've quit the job. I've got a new job in Australia. It's going ahead.
So he's told everyone because it's important that everyone knows this news and this information. Now back to the article. So yes, Facebook has announced they've changed their name to Meta. You guys might have noticed when you open the Facebook or the Instagram app on your phone, now at the bottom it says Meta. They have a new little cool little symbol or something like that. And this was, as we said, news. And we find out exactly when this news came along, where the article tells us he revealed the new name last October at Facebook Connect 2021, the company's AR, VR, or augmented reality and virtual reality event. So yeah, if you're making an announcement, you might do it at a big event. Maybe it's just for your family. You might make an announcement at your wedding or at your birthday or something like that. And of course, if you're the head of a big worldwide company, you might have some kind of special press conference or meeting or this virtual reality event that Facebook holds. And this year, they had particularly big news.
Right. But what is this event we see in the article? This is where he explained the company's VR vision for the future. Now let's take a quick look at that word vision. So sometimes when we use the word vision, we use it as an uncountable noun to mean the power, the sense of sight. But here, vision is a countable noun, and it means someone's idea or hope or plan about how something should be done, how things are going to be in the future. It's a little bit like a goal. It's an aim. It's like you can see the future and you're going, this is what we're going to be. This is how we're going to get there. For example, we could say, Arthur has a vision of a time when people will live and work on the moon.
All right, so Facebook is not going anywhere. It will still be there. It will still be called Facebook, the website that you use to talk to your friends or share your photos. But all of the other companies under Facebook, this big company now has a new name. As it says, the new company Meta will include Facebook, as well as apps such as Instagram, WhatsApp, and the VR brand Oculus. Oh, I didn't know that they owned Oculus. They're one of the companies that make those VR goggles that people play games and do stuff with. Interesting.
Okay, so we're talking about the announcement at this event, and the CEO, so that's Zuckerberg again, described his plans to build the metaverse.
Ah, interesting. So what is the metaverse? Well, let's go to Mark Zuckerberg's own words where he described it. He described it as an embodied internet, where instead of just viewing content, you're in it. In other words, you are part of the internet. You won't just see your friends chatting on a screen. You can actually sort of go into the screen or be part of the program that has your friends and you chatting. And as we said, you'll sort of be in what looks like a real space. But of course, all of this will be coming to you through your VR and AR goggles and things like that. But for many people, this idea of the internet being embodied is quite an exciting idea. Let's find out more about the word embodied. All right, now embodied is an adjective that we often use when talking about an idea that then becomes something you can touch or see. This is our body, okay? Everyone has a body, and we can touch our bodies. Our minds, our imagination, our feelings, these are things we can't touch, but our bodies we can. So when something becomes embodied, it's like something that we couldn't touch before, like love or an idea or a dream. It actually becomes real. So if you've always dreamed of designing your own airplane or spaceship or something, and you work really hard and finally you actually make something that is exactly what you were thinking, this spaceship embodies your dreams and your imagination and your ideas. It actually becomes something real that you can touch instead of just an idea in your head.
So it's like an internet that you can walk around in and kind of interact with. And so rather than just clicking on buttons, you'll go, oh, I want to check out that website over there. Or take a little virtual walk.
Instead of clicking and dragging on a cup of coffee in a picture, you could actually be in the picture and you could use what looks like your hand to actually grab what looks like a real cup of coffee.
Okay, and so this relates to what we see on the internet. And instead of viewing this content, we will be able to really be part of this content.
Right.
So we use this phrase instead of when we're talking about an alternative choice. It's not A, it's B. We don't do this, we do this instead. For example, I want coffee instead of tea this morning with my breakfast. I don't want to see this movie. I want to read the book instead of seeing the movie.
Okay, you could do both things. That's perfectly allowed. And people might expect you to do one thing, like normally you have coffee in the morning, but you're kind of saying, no, I'm not going to do A, I'm going to do B. I will choose B. So yes, you will actually be able to be embodied in the internet, and all the content there, it will seem real. It will be embodied as well. When we talk about content, especially when we're talking about things online or those television streaming services, basically it's anything created and put online for people to watch or use or enjoy or anything like that. Every time you upload a picture to Instagram or a video to YouTube, you are putting that content on the internet. Why do we use this word? Because it covers everything from videos of your friends, pictures you take, stories you might write, songs you might write, anything that people put up there on the internet to upload or to download. That stuff is called content, and it covers almost everything.
Okay, and Zuckerberg is pretty excited about this whole thing.
I'm sure he is.
Understandably, we see in the article, he believes the metaverse will be the next big thing after the mobile internet.
Oh, really?
So, of course, that was a big change. You guys won't remember, but when we were a lot younger, the internet was just on a big computer at home. And you would have to sit there and dial up through the phone line to use it. And it was slow.
As soon as you could walk around with a phone and still get the internet, that was mobile. You
Huge
could move
change.
around. Massive change. That basically allowed smartphones. You didn't have to have your smartphone plugged into a wall or plugged into some kind of way of getting the internet. No, you were able to walk around, drive around, and you'd still get internet service. It was mobile or mobile. It was able to move. So this is a big change, apparently, according to Mark Zuckerberg. And then he also, where you read, Zuckerberg said that in spite of how far apart people are, they'll be able to feel like they're together. Now, this is something that might be really attractive to people in a time of COVID and pandemics and lockdown. So I've been missing my mom. I'm sure you've been missing your family for a few years. So instead of having a Zoom call or FaceTiming with them and, having a picture and seeing them, we could actually sort of recreate your family living room. You could go there in the metaverse and open your Christmas presents or sit with your parents and have a cup of tea. And I guess the idea is it would almost be like being there. Your living room might look exactly the same, but of course, this is all online in the metaverse.
Cool. So now let's check out today's language in focus, which is the use of the phrase in spite of. So this phrase in spite of shows that something is still true or still happens no matter what other condition is in place. We often say this when it's got a kind of surprising or unexpected outcome. You might think that the situation will mean one thing, in fact it doesn't. This thing still happens in spite of the situation. For example, you could say, I went jogging in spite of the rain. If it was raining, you might expect me to stay home, stay dry, but no, I went jogging anyway. Here's another. In spite of the many difficulties, I managed to get all my work done on time. I had so much to do, I didn't have much time to do it. Yet despite this, because despite means the same thing, in spite of this, I got it all done on time. And what he's saying here is, in spite of how far apart people are, they can still be together in the metaverse.
Absolutely. And yes, people have been apart for a long time now, as we said, because of COVID and quarantines and things like that. We haven't been together, we've been apart. So if you're together, you're close to someone, you're with that person, you're in the same room, you might be standing very near them. If you want to talk to people, you have to stand together so that they can hear you. If you're apart from people, you're far away. There's some kind of distance there. You're certainly not able to talk to them or touch them or, hug them or anything like that. You might be on the other side of the room. You might be in another city, in another country, on this other side of the world. So when we talk about people have been apart for the past few years, Basically, we're just saying people have been away from each other in different countries or in different places that they can't come together because of COVID rules and things like that. So if things are apart, there is some distance between them. They are not close, they are not together, they are far away from each other in some way. For example, how far apart should the flower vases be on the shelf? I know that they shouldn't be together, but how far apart? Should it be 0.5 meter or 1 meter? Tell me what the distance between them should be.
Okay, so that's one of the aims of this metaverse. It's going to bring people together in a new way.
All right.
So here's more from Zuckerberg's announcement. We see he mentioned that the company's VR division has grown significantly in recent years. So when you have a very big organization that does lots of different kinds of work, you would often split them up into different groups.
Sure.
Sometimes you could call these departments, the finance department, the sales department, but you could use this word division as well. Division is the noun form of divide, the verb. So you divide something up, it is then in different divisions. Each division has its own leader. Each division has its own goals and aims and things they work on, but they are still part of this larger organization. So with Facebook, you might have the WhatsApp division, the Facebook division, it could be the whole social media division.
Sure. Yep.
And they've obviously got a VR division, and it's been getting bigger and bigger. Here's another way we can use this word. The marketing division will be making ads for the new product next month. Okay, which is what a marketing team or division or department would do. And this VR team over at Meta has grown significantly.
That's right. They've grown a lot, or quite a bit, more than you would expect, or definitely enough that you would notice it. If something changes significantly, we're not talking about a minor or a small change that you might not even see. No, this is a big change. If you lived in a city 20 years ago and then you go back, you would say, wow, the city has changed significantly. There's all these new buildings. Some of the old buildings are gone. Things have really changed a lot. It's easy to see. It's easy to notice. For example, this winter coat is significantly more expensive than that one. So it's not just a little bit more expensive. It's a lot more expensive. You would really notice the difference in the price.
Okay, so all this time we've been talking about Zuckerberg's vision, and he's got a number on it. He has said he expects the metaverse to reach 1 billion people within the next decade. So in the next decade, 1 billion people will be using it, accessing it. They'll have their own little avatar people walking around in it. They will all be connecting. And he says this will happen within the next decade. A decade is a period of 10 years. We could use it for any 10-year spell. I've been working at this company for a decade, something like that. But we often use it for particular slices of a century. The 1920s, the 1980s, the 2010s. We would call those decades and use that to kind of break apart the century for things like fashion and technology and stuff like that. But a decade is any 10-year period. Here's an example. It's been a decade since Gladys went back to visit her old high school.
It's been 10 years since she went back. There you go. So experiences in the metaverse, this is again according to Meta and Mark Zuckerberg describing what we might do there. Experiences in the metaverse could include social connections, games, fitness, work, education, and shopping. Basically anything that you do with other people, either out there in the real world or through other apps like Zoom or FaceTime or WhatsApp, you'll be able to do in the metaverse. But again, of course, it will feel like you're actually there with the people doing it. You're not just shopping online, you're shopping with your friends in a sort of imaginary store that looks and feels real. You could actually walk around and pick up the clothes and do things like that.
Yeah, I guess in the 10 years, we'll be teaching a class to you in the metaverse.
Interesting.
That'll be pretty cool. Okay, that's where we're going to leave it today. That's the announcement of what Zuckerberg's plans are. Keep an eye on them, but it's now time for us to go to our For You Chat question.
For You Chat.
So today's For You Chat question is, how do you think AR and VR might change how people interact?
That's a great question, and it's a hard question to answer because basically we're being asked to see into the future. Many people would not have predicted how social media and smartphones and things like that has changed life today, but I think with AR and VR, we might see more of what we've seen over the last 2 years because of COVID and quarantine and lockdown. People have been working from home, they've been meeting online on Zoom calls and in chat rooms. So if your Zoom call or your chat room could seem more like real life, if you could actually sit around a table when you're having a meeting or meet with your friends in a fun environment when you're actually still at home, but you could do this using the metaverse and VR and AR, I think people will do that more, probably.
Yeah, I wonder if there'll also be a reaction the other way with people saying, well, if I've got to have my classes in the metaverse and I've got to do my work in the metaverse, then on my and I'm watching like TV and stuff in the metaverse, then at least my interactions can be person to person, and I'm going to push away from all this stuff and just go out and find somebody in a park to hang out with.
Interesting. People will get tired of being in the metaverse. Okay, that's also possible.
So as Mike says, we just don't know. We'll have to watch it and see how these things change. Keep an eye on it, you guys, and we'll talk to you again next time. For English for You, I'm Pat.
And I'm Mike.
See you again. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Vocabulary Review. Announce. The company announced that starting today, all its stores will sell brown rice in addition to white rice. Vision. The new president has a very different vision for the country and hopes to increase trade with smaller countries. Apart. To do this stretch, start by standing with your legs as wide apart as your shoulders. Division. The marketing division is responsible for trying to get people to buy our company's services. Significantly. Jason is significantly taller this year. He's growing fast. Decade. Our company has grown so much in the last decade. I hope it grows as much in the next 10 years.
智慧小补帖
Embodied. Content.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作。活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net